Arranging for Christmas, Household Decoration and Details by Mrs. M.J. Plumstead, published in Good Housekeeping in 1885. Everyone who has a home wishes it to look its best on Christmas Day, above all other days. How can we arrange our rooms so they will look their prettiest for the homecoming of the children, or the relatives, or friends who are coming to spend Christmas with us, is a question we ask ourselves as the time draws near. We would like to have our rooms fragrant with flowers, wreathed with holly, and garlanded with evergreens. If we live in the city, we can buy fresh flowers, smilax, holly, evergreen wreaths, to the extent of our fancy or the length of our purse. We can call in the professional florist and have our rooms look like a green bower with flowers, vines and potted plants, or we can at a more moderate figure do it for ourselves. We can buy our roses and pinks, smilax and ferns by the dozen and use them to suit ourselves. A pretty design for the dinner table can be made by taking a low, broad dish of glass or china, such as can be found in great variety at any crockery store, or a wicker or straw basket without handles, not over 3 or 4 inches deep. You can get some liquid gilding, gold or silver, and change it into a high-priced gilt basket in a few moments. You want some sphagnum moss for filling, a little smilax to cover the moss, 2 dozen Bon Silene rose buds, pink, half a dozen sprays of the feathery white stevia, half a dozen maidenhair ferns, coarse and fine bouquet wire, wooden toothpicks, and you are ready for business. Line the basket with druggist's white paper, fill in the moss so it will round up a little in the center. Fasten wire back and forth to the edges to keep the moss in. Wire the buds by running a piece of coarse wire through the calyx, bend it down and give it a twist around the stem. Wire the stevia in loose, graceful sprays with the fine wire on the toothpicks. The ferns in the same manner, adding a bit of moss around the stem to keep them fresh longer. Now lay the smilax on the surface of the moss, fasten here and there with wire bent like a hairpin, put in the buds. Add the stevia and ferns, taking care not to have them look stiff and formal. You will have a pretty design at about half the cost of a ready-made one. Of course, this idea can be varied, enlarged, and improved upon. Red and white carnation pinks make a pretty combination with the ferns, and will not cost as much as the roses. Pearl des Jardins roses, yellow. Stevia and a few English violets, for color and odor. Catherine Mermet roses, pink. White bouvardia or stevia and heliotrope are pleasing combinations. Nothing surpasses the adiantums, maidenhair ferns, conidium and gracilium for green to mix with any flowers. Some pretty branches of holly over the pictures, a large crystal bowl of long-stemmed chrysanthemums for the sideboard, some for the vases on the mantel, holly wreaths for the windows, and the dining room will be complete. In the parlor, some long-stemmed roses for the vases, a low basket for the table, the gas jets draped with smilax or evergreens. If the wall is light in color, a plaque of ferns and autumn leaves will show off. Small sprays of kalmia or laurel mixed with hardy ferns and bright autumn leaves are pretty over the cornice of bay windows and folding doors. If we live in the country away from florists and greenhouses, we shall have to depend on our own resources. But then we have the woods and fields to choose from, and Dame Nature has many a bouquet of ferns, evergreens, and berries hidden away for those who will hunt for them. The rock ferns are as green as ever, the holly or shield fern hides away at the foot of the granite ledges, and cares not for cold. The running evergreens in variety, princess pine combined with bright berries when arranged will give our rooms a festive look if we have no flowers. If we have a store of pressed ferns, sumac leaves, maple leaves, the feathery clematis, and other woodsy things on hand, we have a bank to draw from which we'll make many pretty things to adorn pictures and brackets. The pressed Hartford running fern makes a lovely wall decoration. A fancy flower pot or vase placed on a corner bracket, fill the dish with dry sand, put one end of a branch in it and then tack on the wall to imitate a growing vine. If well done, it can scarcely be told from the real article. The maidenhair fern looks lovely arranged around the lower part of a bracket. Cut off the stems and just touch the ferns with flour paste. It takes but little, or you can use the tiny upholsterer's tacks. A star made of ferns looks well over or under a picture. Use small rock ferns of a size, cut a small round of pasteboard, sew on the ferns having the stems meet in the center, which can be covered with a bunch of berries, thistleball or clematis. White tarlatan makes a good foundation to arrange ferns and leaves on. They can be pinned on, or touched with a little mucilage. A good way to arrange leaves around a picture is to first cut the shape in tarlatan, then fasten the leaves on. Lambrequins can be made of it, and are specially pretty over lace or muslin curtains. A bunch of large ferns and sumac sprays are pretty over the bay window, the doors and windows. A ball can be made of the green moss that is found in the woods and peel off in sheets. Make it round as possible, winding it with black thread, until the size desired. Suspend it and fill with ferns, autumn leaves, sprays of the feathery clematis until the moss is covered from sight. The best way to prepare ferns, leaves and so on, is to wire each one separately with bouquet wire fastened with fine wire. In this way you can stick them in firmly. The vases on the mantel come in for their share. 4 or 5 handsome ferns or sumac sprays in a vase are far more effective than twice that number crowded together. If the vase is first filled with dry sand or Indian meal, something for a foundation to stick the ferns in, then have each fern wired and you can make them stay just where they are put. It is the same way with grasses. I have seen bouquets of grasses that reminded me of miniature haystacks. But what of the dinner table? It will not be quite the thing without some flowers. Haven't you a chrysanthemum in bloom? If you have put a large bunch in that old-fashioned china bowl that belonged to grandmother. If you can't find the bowl and have no flowers, or even a specially pretty dish for your fruit, make a combination one. How? Here is one way. Take a soup plate, lay some ferns around the edge partly on the cloth, now set a saucer on bottom up. This holds the ferns in place. Upon this set a glass preserve dish on a stand, select some finely colored red and yellow apples, pears and crab apples. With a piece of soft flannel polish them, arrange them on the ferns around the soup plate. Fill the glass dish with green moss, first setting in the center a goblet. Put some small ferns around the edge, then lay on the moss some handsome clusters of grapes, letting some hang over the edge, keeping them steady by fastening with stout hairpins into the moss. A few white grapes are an addition in the way of color. Fill the goblet with ferns, leaves and bright berries. I hope you have gathered some goldenrod this season. If you have not, remember it another year. Pick as soon as it has fairly bloomed, fill your vase with dry sand and arrange it, do not put it in water. A vase full stands near me as I write this. It has faded a trifle, but is lovely and graceful. I have another bouquet of asters, goldenrod, clematis and berries, arranged in the same way. We are beginning to appreciate these roadside beauties. For years the asters and goldenrod have grown and bloomed, fringing and gilding the dusty highways and hedges, attracting no attention save from the true lover of wild flowers. But all of a sudden Dame Fashion has discovered there is gracefulness in the aster and beauty in the goldenrod. Beauty and fashion gather and wear them, artists are painting them, and even weddings are not complete without the bell of goldenrod and the bower of asters.